Hey everybody, thanks for joining us today at Profectus Livestock. Today we've got some folks on from Huvepharma to talk about their new respiratory vaccine that we're really excited about. So I'll let you guys go ahead and introduce yourselves. I'm Brian Dorcey, Director of Veterinary Medicine here at Profectus Livestock, and have had some experience with some of your new products we're excited to tell the world about. So go ahead, Morry, you kick us off on introducing your team.
Yeah. Good morning, everybody. I'm Morry Long. I am Strategic Account Manager for Huvepharma. I cover the states of North and South Dakota, Minnesota as well. I've been in the industry coming up on 30 years now, so we're super excited to bring to Profectus and to their clientele a great new product line, starting with our intranasal vaccines. And with us today, I've got Dr. Hall. Dr. Hall's been one of the professional service veterinarians that's been key and very instrumental in this product development and launch. So with that, Dr. Hall.
And I'm Dr. Jeffery Hall. I've been with Huvepharma for 5 years, but I've got 38 years of veterinary clinical and diagnostic experience in the cattle industry. And so I come with a lot of background on general health, nutrition, vaccine efficacy and response, and disease in the livestock industry, and love to work with producers to try to help them problem solve.
Awesome. Well, thanks guys for joining us. One of the things I wanted to talk about today was BRD and some of your new exciting product developments and helping us practitioners fight that out in the country. Again, your new vaccine, PrimeLine 5, we've tried some of that, been early adopters of that vaccine, and have placed it in some of our farms this year with good response. And so why don't you guys just dive into what led to the development of that, what the novel technology that PrimeLine brings to the industry, and just a new tool in our tool belt.
Well, Huvepharma teamed up with Hennessy Bio Research and Jennifer and Guillermo Gallo, all three of which have extensive backgrounds in vaccine development. When the two Dr. Gallos retired, they said we could always develop a better vaccine, but we were limited by the companies we worked with. And so they teamed up with Hennessy and then teamed up with us to develop a vaccine line using new antigens, using new IBR isolates, using new PI3 isolates, BRSV isolates, and the Pasteurella and Mannheimia isolates. Most of the vaccines on the market, the isolates that are used in those vaccines were isolated 25, 30, 35, and some even 40 years ago, where everything in the PrimeLine was isolated since 2016 when the vaccine was beginning to be developed. And so they're all new isolates from field strains of actively circulating organisms in our cattle industry.
Yeah, that lines up pretty well with our approach at Profectus. Is a lot of diagnostic and evidence-based medicine we've used. And so as you guys launched a newer vaccine, of course, we've been comfortable using intranasals to address BRD for a long time. And so every time a new one comes on the market, you've got to make sure that it's passes the muster with with the long-standing vaccine protection that those vaccines have provided. So we went out and did some testing against all the major competitors that are in the space right now with you guys' line of vaccine. Have been very pleased and gotten feedback from producers on their experience with the PrimeLine IN5, and I'm excited about the new isolates that we've got in the product. So we've used applications both calf ranch and beef cow calf herds. Where do you guys see this vaccine being placed, earning its spot in a vaccine protocol?
You mentioned the beef calves, and there is certainly use for there. We've got some incredible safety work on this product. As the claims are established, simply when you're testing calves, they need to be naive, meaning they can't have anything in them. So that testing process in and of itself takes a span of time. So therefore, I've been asked by producers, why a 3-day claim and not a day-old claim?
Yep.
Well, you've got to test calves, and that takes time. So the best we could do on our claim was a 3-day of age. Practically speaking, the safety data is there. It's done. The safety work has been done in day-old calves. Again, the claim states 3 days of age, but this is an ideal product for calf ranches, for those hutch calves, those 3-day-old calves. When you're working those calves, this is a great way to get a first protection barrier, if you will, through the nasal passage.
I've seen the product used very effectively 2 different ways out in the field. Either right after birth, the calves are when they're tagged, and then potentially boosting them with either an intranasal at branding or following up with an injectable modified live at branding. The other way I've seen it being used is using the intranasal at branding and then follow up with an injectable modified live at pre-weaning processing. Either way is very effective. Using the intranasal, you're applying the antigens directly to the natural exposure surface by applying it intranasally. Using a systemic injectable stimulates the immune system, but by using it intranasally, you stimulate more both systemic and mucosal immunity, which helps protect the animal at the site of natural exposure to these organisms.
Perfect. That makes tons of sense to me. And then that leads into my next question. And one of the things that drew me to the product to be an early adapter and recommend it out to my customers was your substantial experimental model and the protection that it offered in the face of the challenge. Can you guys talk about some of the unique label claims that you guys have of this product based on its level of protection because of the work you guys did in your experimental design?
When you're setting up efficacy and safety studies, the efficacy studies, you're wanting to challenge the animal with a strain of the organism that is different from the vaccine strain, that is very potent. For the Mannheimia, for example, these animals were challenged with millions of organisms in 60 mils of liquid administered directly into the lungs. About as severe a challenge as you're going to be able to put an animal through. Doing so, it had a significant decrease in the amount of lung damage associated with the organism. But the bigger thing is it had a significant decrease in the mortality of those calves. It was to the point where when the data was submitted to USDA, it actually surprised us. They came back and said, yes, you've proved it's effective at decreasing disease, but you've also proved that it's effective at decreasing mortality. And so they actually allowed us to put that on as a label claim, and that's the only product on the market that's ever had that label claim.
I've been super, yeah, jump in, Morry.
Dr. Dorcey. Well, I was just going to say, again, we've got some experience on the screen here in front of us, and Dr. Hall, Dr. Dorcey, I think you'd both admit, in my 30 years, I have never seen the FDA come back with a claim higher than one you're searching for. This challenge was so severe that they said, hey, you literally can put this, and we have put that on our label claim. Now, one word of caution, it does, it's not a guarantee. Okay.
Right. Vaccines never are, right?
Yeah, yes, exactly. We just want to make sure everyone out there listening, because there is no guarantee. It's a vaccine. It is still a vaccine. It's reduction in exposure, and probably the strength of illness is what we're achieving and what we're going for. But again, in my 30 years of experience in the industry, I've never seen a bigger claim than the one you've asked for. So it gives me a lot of confidence to talk about this product.
Yeah, me as well.
Well, the other thing I point out to customers routinely is anytime you're dealing with populations of animals, You're going to have some animals that, even though they weren't vaccinated, still have a really strong immune system and they can survive a challenge. You can have other animals that for some reason had a bad hair day the day they were vaccinated. They didn't respond. You're going to have both ends of that spectrum. A lot of people think when they give a vaccine, it should give 100% protection. That is not reality. For any vaccine, intranasal, injectable, it doesn't matter. You're going to have a spectrum of responses within that population. A great vaccine, with most vaccine individuals in the industry, is an 85% response rate or better. Okay, that's a great vaccine. What you're doing is you're trying to decrease the overall disease within the population, which decreases exposure to other animals, but it also decreases the health events within the animals vaccinated. And by doing so, you decrease the population density of disease, decrease the health effects, you decrease your medicine costs, you decrease your labor costs, but you also decrease death losses, because I don't care how great a veterinarian is, you get sick animals and treat them, you're not going to save 100% of them. And so by decreasing the overall incidence of disease, you result in more money available to put in your pocket at the end of the year, because you have more live calves to sell and they're healthier.
Absolutely. Then they can go to the feed yard and thrive. And, as a practitioner, we always battle biology, right? And so we know that biology, there's days that it's in our favor and there's days that it's not. And so that's why starting with a robust challenge model gives us confidence as practitioners to go out there and predict on these farms that may have different levels of challenge, nutrition, management, how this vaccine can work, and quantify for our customers what their return on investment might be by changing to a different product than what they're maybe used to. So,
and I like to use the example, it's like I break it down into per 100 head. Okay, so if you vaccinate 100 calves at today's calf prices, if you save one of those from dying from respiratory disease, that's an extra $2,500 you put in your pocket, because he's a live calf when you wean him. Okay, that's per 100 head. That's $25 return per animal.
Death loss hurts right now
Yes.
in the cattle market, and it's something that it's not a rounding error by any means. And that's one of the things that you guys having a claim on there for mortality makes a big difference to me as a practitioner, as we go forward and make recommendations to our customers. I do have another question. PrimeLine IN5 is what we're talking about today, and that's what we've been recommending because of its broad spectrum. Do you guys want to just detail the pathogens in that and take it out to the rest of the product line versus PrimeLine 3 and where applicable? I've had the conversations with a lot of our producers, and most have chosen or made the choice to go to a PrimeLine 5 and just full boat protection. But talk about the product line where it sits today of PrimeLine 3 versus 5.
Well, the PrimeLine 3 contains the 3 viral components. Contains IBR, infectious bovine rhinotracheitis virus, contains PI3, parainfluenza virus 3, and contains BRSV, bovine respiratory syncytial virus. Those are common viruses that are used in both injectable and intranasal products. Those viruses typically affect the respiratory tract in such a way that they allow the bacteria to get deeper into the lungs and cause disease. So by decreasing the amount of those viruses in this animal system or affecting the animal's lungs, you're decreasing the ability of those bacteria to cause secondary effects. By including the 2 bacterial components, the Mannheimia and Pasteurella, those are the 2 most pathogenic bacteria as far as causing lung damage. They're natural in the animal. They'll be at low levels in almost any animal you do a nasal swab in. You'll find low numbers of those, but they're kept at bay by the protective mechanisms of the respiratory tract. The viruses actually damage those protective mechanisms and allow the bacteria to get deeper into the lungs, and that's when you start seeing clinical disease. by controlling a combination of the bacteria and the viruses, you're decreasing the potential for the viruses to set them up for bacterial infection, but you're allowing the body to produce an earlier response to the bacteria if they do get deeper into the lungs to prevent them from setting up and causing full-blown pneumonias.
And that's the feedback I've got this spring was, as flexibility as a practitioner on the call, with my customers and my clients that I've got a client-patient relationship with, we've veered from that 3 days and gone down to day one when we're tagging and doing everything else, just because management-wise it makes sense with no problems in doing that, Morry, to your previous comments. And so we've used it at either branding or at birth with feedback from the country of adequate protection in either situation. So,
and to tag on to what Dr. Hall had said, and Dr. Dorcey, what you just brought up, your clients are your clients. Dr. Hall can sit in front of a computer screen or stand in front of your clients and make recommendations. So to your point, which product would you choose and why? That comes from having that client relationship, that understanding between you and your customers, much more so than Dr. Hall and I. If you have a history of Pasteurella, obviously, you're going to know that, your customers will know that. That's key in me, is using your veterinarian, specifically asking those questions of your vet. So the good thing is we've got a product for both situations, and we will be coming with a full line just as soon as we can get it here. So,
well, that's kind of where I was going. Is I appreciate as a practitioner for you guys to come out and have both presentations for us to give us some flexibility to work that vaccine protocol for our specific farms with products that we are comfortable with, given really good protection. So.
And the one thing that we're hearing from the field pretty routinely is in people that are using the PrimeLine 5 is they say, we still see some occasional cases of pneumonia, which with the population dynamics is to be expected. They said, but the cases that we see are responding very well to antibiotics. We're not seeing the real severe cases. We're not seeing the ones that have to go through multiple rounds of repeated antibiotics. If we're protecting against the most pathogenic of the bacteria, then obviously the lesser pathogenic bacteria that may be present in those mucosal surfaces kind of take up house. But those are also the ones that tend to respond to antibiotics much better, the ones that are less pathogenic.
Yep, that would overlay our feedback from the country as well as treatment response. If not reduction in incidence, treatment response has been much better from the country. And we've used it, again, ranch, calf ranch, dairies, a little bit of everywhere this spring with really good feedback, and in head-to-head trials with the competitive products to see how it fits and compares. So we've had a number of producers and run their own trials on it and been very pleased. So made the switch.
I like to hear that.
Yeah. Well, guys, thank you for the time today. Again, we appreciate companies that come out with new products and give us new tools as practitioners out there. We're excited to go forward and continue to build our database on you guys' product, but we've seen really good first pass response and protection from it. And so one of the ways that people can get in touch with us would be to go to profectuslivestock.com, talk to one of our veterinarians and help have them build a vaccine protocol or suggest how it might work into their program. So thanks for joining us today.
Been a pleasure, Dr. Dorcey, and stay tuned. There's more good stuff coming.
If you like what you heard today, please like, follow, or subscribe to the Profectus Ahead of the Herd podcast.